Hi YouTube, this is Evie. Welcome back to my channel, and today I have another video for you all that is related to terms and relationships in BDSM, and today I'm going to be talking about strays, specifically in the pet play community, although I will touch on uncollared submissives in the larger BDSM community as well, but my emphasis is going to be on strays in the pet play community. Now, the reason why I wanted to make this video specifically is because in a lot of my other videos, I have mentioned that strays can be pets. I've emphasized the fact that strays are perfectly allowed to be part of the pet play community, but there is still a lot of backlash against strays being a part of pet play and identifying as a pet, and to me, that's just wrong and unhelpful, so I thought I would just make an entire video dedicated just to talking about strays and trying to legitimize them and explain why. The argument usually goes that you don't have a master, you don't have an owner, you're not part of a DS dynamic, therefore you cannot participate in pet play, and you are not a pet, and what you are doing is not pet play. I have always thought that this was somewhat of a silly argument, although I have said in my other videos that you do need to have a power exchange relationship for something to be pet play. It's not just having it that counts. You can also simply just have the desire to have that power exchange and have it be pet play. There are a lot of people that, because of their life circumstances, be that their occupation, their current relationship, whatever it is, something prevents them from being part of a DS dynamic, but because of the fact that they want to have that power exchange element, I believe personally that is still allowed to be pet play and they should still consider themselves pets. Now, if you are from the larger BDSM community, you're familiar with the idea of an uncollared or an unowned submissive. It's very, very common, especially where I live in this very sort of informal Pacific Northwest type of environment in the BDSM community, where you might not even know if somebody is owned or collared or if they have a dominant unless you specifically ask them. There are a lot of people, again, because of their life circumstances or just their preference, that don't have a regular full-time BDSM or DS dynamic. They go to play parties, they go to events, and they participate as a submissive or a bottom there, but otherwise, in their day-to-day life and in their relationships, they don't have any element of power exchange, but they're still considered submissives. Now, when you're at these events, you don't see owned submissives going up to unowned submissives and back-talking them like, you're not really a submissive, what you're doing isn't really BDSM because you don't have an owner or a master. Like, nobody says that. That would be incredibly rude and incredibly invasive, especially in a community that's supposed to be very opening and welcome to a lot of different people and a lot of different types of lifestyles. There are people who are just incredibly heavy pain bottoms, like people who just love needle play and they live to be caned like hundreds of times at events, and as soon as they get the chance at any play party or event, they are there the entire time just doing some ridiculously heavy S&M scenes. But outside of going to these events, they may not have any sort of set in stone DS dynamic, and they may not have an owner or a master or, whatever other kind of D type in their life. Nobody will go up to those people and tell them, you're not really a submissive because you don't have an owner. Clearly what they are doing is BDSM, but why do people in the pet play community specifically seem to react so viscerally to submissives who try to participate in the lifestyle without actually having a dominant? I think a lot of it is just sort of defense of the community. Over the last 2 years or so, especially, there has been a huge growth in the online pet play community, especially with kitten play. And because of that, there seems to be a lot of fear over, people who aren't real, people who are just doing it as a thing to be popular, people who are just hopping on a trend. And because of that, they try to weed out as many people from the lifestyle as they can in order to, seemingly protect it from people who don't belong. And they have selected strays as people to pick on because they don't have a dominant, therefore how can they really be participating in this lifestyle? They must clearly be a trend hopper because they don't have a dominant. Any sort of number of ridiculous reasoning why people who are strays can't be part of the community, when it really just boils down to trying to make the community exclusive, trying to make it something that is private and protected. And I'm all about keeping BDSM out of the public eye. I think there are a lot of elements of it that really, shouldn't be a media spectacle. But at the same time, you can't police people who want to be part of the community just because of the fact they don't have a dominant yet. Maybe they've only been interested in pet play for like 2 or 3 months and they're not comfortable yet having a dominant, Like, just don't judge other people. It just generally doesn't go well, and the only thing it does is make you look like an asshole. Now, there is another line of reasoning that's used against strays participating in the pet play community, and that is strays shouldn't be allowed to wear collars. Strays are not real pets. Only pets can wear collars. Now, this is derivative of a few things. One, people think that collars are somehow unique to pet play, which is wrong. All kinds of submissives wear collars, and all types of submissives, regardless of whether or not they're owned or collared or have a dominant or whatever, wear collars. This is also a derivative of the fact that people believe that dominants should be the one to provide a collar to a submissive. Now, I think this is definitely true if you're talking about something like a collar and collar or some kind of specific and formal training collar or something of that nature, but these days there are a ton of different collars out there, not just the really super duper serious ones. I think if you're first getting started in the community and you want to go to play parties and events, it's a good idea to find a collar that actually fits you, because if you have a very small or a very large neck size, it is unlikely that you're going to be able to go to a play party, have some kind of scene with a dominant, and have them just automatically have a collar that fits you. And a collar is not just symbolic of the fact that somebody is submissive, it's also a very practical part of bondage. And if you want to do a bondage scene and you don't have a collar that fits you, that can sort of break the scene up, and it can lessen the feeling of actually being in bondage because you're missing that very secure piece around your neck. And as I have said before in plenty of my other videos, yes, having a collar is symbolic of being a submissive. So even if you're not owned, you can certainly wear a collar because it can act as a symbol to other people what, type of person you are, whether you're a D type or an S type. And I think that's really important to be able to show to people, especially if you are looking for a relationship. And that's really everything I have to say for the topic of strays today. Now, there are going to be people who disagree with me and think that strays shouldn't participate in the community. That's fine. That's their opinion. They're allowed to have it, and disagreements happen. I personally believe that being a stray is a normal part of being a pet player. There are always going to be times near between relationships, and you still want to identify as a pet even though you don't have a dominant at that time. And it's also extremely likely that when you're first getting started out in pet play, you're not immediately going to find a dominant either. But if you did find this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up. Of course, if you want to suggest any topics that you want me to talk about, please leave them down below in the comments, as well as any questions or concerns you might have. And please subscribe if you want to see more. It really helps out my channel. And until I see you next time, I hope you have a great rest of your day and a great rest of your week. Bye-bye.